3 skills of a coach. One skill that a coach requires is good communication. Communication can be both verbal, such as speaking to one of your players and instructing them on something, or non-verbal, such as body language and demonstration to help your athletes understand what you are trying to say better. For verbal communication, it is best for the coach to make their point concise and easy to understand. Verbal communication is better for simpler instructions or points, such as a volleyball coach encouraging their team with phrases such as "well done" or "keep going." For young and inexperienced athletes, it's best for the coach to keep language simple and understandable, whereas for more developed and more experienced athletes, the coach can use much more detailed and complex language to help further their performance. An example of this may be a curling coach using very technical language to explain positioning and shot types to the Great Britain Olympic team, but only using simpler language to explain power or placement to an amateur or youth team. Non-verbal communication is just as important, if not more so, than verbal communication. An athlete will be able to read positive or negative body language, and so it is important for a coach to maintain a positive, healthy attitude while working, as this is communicated to their athletes. For example, if a coach comes into a new team and is nervous and unable to maintain eye contact, this will inhibit conversations and thus relationships. This may lead to the athletes believing that the coach has a problem with them when in reality there is no issue, and so good non-verbal communication skills are just as important for a sports coach as verbal communication skills. Another skill that a coach must possess is good organisational skills. When planning and running sessions, a coach needs to be organised to ensure that themselves and the athletes can get the most out of the time and equipment available to them. An organised session should ensure that the athletes are working hard and completing appropriate tasks, while also staying motivated and enjoying themselves. If an American football team complete the same training session every day for 2 weeks, by the end of the 2 weeks they are going to be unmotivated and bored, as the session will become repetitive. An organised coach will plan ahead to ensure that their sessions do not become repetitive or even pointless. There are many organisational factors that a coach must take into account: the number of participants, the appropriateness of the activities, any equipment needed, and access and booking of the facilities. If a badminton class turn up to the session but the coach hasn't brought enough rackets for everybody attending, then this shows clear, poor organisational skills, as they did not prepare for the correct number of participants. Problem solving is a major skill that sports coaches must possess, as sport can be unpredictable and challenging, especially if working with children or inexperienced athletes. A coach's situation can be very inconsistent between sessions or even within sessions. Problems may suddenly arise, and so a coach needs to be able to think on their feet and deal with any obstacles that present themselves. These problems can include problems with participants, such as injuries or arguments and fights. In these situations, the coach must balance dealing with the problem and running the session. If a children's football coach has to deal with a fight, they must also find a way to continue the session for the rest of the class. There can be problems with equipment, such as damage or limited supply, problems with the facility, such as a wet floor or untidy floor space. Transport and access can also be an issue, for example wheelchair access or parking spaces. If a coach is running a session for wheelchair tennis, then the court must be accessible for wheelchair users. If this is not the case, then the coach must find a way of dealing with this problem, such as finding a solution to getting the wheelchair users onto the court or finding an alternative venue at short notice. The opponents during match situations can also be a problem for a coach. For example, if a school rugby team hosts a home fixture and the away team are 30 minutes late, the coach must be able to deal with this problem and think of a solution to keep the players motivated and warmed up. Athletes will expect any problems to be dealt with in advance if possible, or straight away when they happen. This also goes for parents or teachers, as they are expecting the best quality service for their money. It is the coach's responsibility to ensure that all the athletes and customers are kept happy when a problem occurs.